Hello, youth ministry people. It's been a little while. We took a little break, summer hits, but we're back with some epic saints between now and the beginning of August. And one of them is today's saint, which is Saint Anthony of Padua, a very famous saint because of the wonderful little prayer, Tony, Tony, please come around. Something is lost that cannot be found. But many people who pray that prayer don't know much else about Anthony of Padua. So maybe today we'll learn a little bit more about him. My favorite thing before we begin is he was born Fernando, and I just think that's awesome. I tried to convince Abby yesterday, if you don't like the name Anthony, you can always name a son Fernando and then say, well, he's named after Anthony of Padua, and people would be all confused. And so, be a great conversation starter. Considering we're not very Hispanic, that would really, or Portuguese, that would really throw people, little Fernando. So, Stephen, you just told us right before we started that Anthony is your confirmation name. So he is your man. And why is he?
He is. So I decided to pick St. Anthony because I think, like a lot of people, it was at first this infatuation with, oh yeah, great, find stuff. Later on, that kind of evolved, right? Because it's not just being able to find things, but just what happens when you need to be found, when you've lost your way. And sure, the car keys in the morning, can't find them. That's great to find, but what's something a little deeper, when I was about to get confirmed, and my previous diocese that I come from, San Bernardino, they do it later. So it's usually your freshman and sophomore year. You have confirmation classes. And then at the end of the sophomore year, you get confirmed. And we're lining up to process at the church. And I asked my confirmation sponsor, was also my godfather, and a Monsignor Tony. I was like, hey, who was your confirmation saint? Kind of a cool story, because I had picked his namesake and didn't even know. And I said, hey, what saint did you pick for confirmation? And he just looks down at me and says, Saint Stephen. So that was cool. I had no idea. Wasn't on the plan.
That's pretty cool.
As a confirmation gift, he gave me one of his ordination gifts, which was this really awesome bronze icon, solid bronze of this scene behind me, which is St. Anthony went to go preach to some people. Didn't want to hear him, so he said, fine, I'll go preach to the fishes. He starts preaching to this lake, and the fishes came and listened to him.
And then the people went, maybe we should
to
him.
Maybe we should. Maybe we should quit our carping and go listen to him. Heyo.
Full
circle.
Well, that is a very awesome story. I have never heard you talk about Stephen, and Saint Stephen is awesome too. So
he's pretty great.
He is pretty great. First
he
martyr.
Kind of got first proto martyr, deacon, but hey, let's give it to Saint Lawrence, the patron of. So whatever.
No, that's a phenomenal story. I think
I do love reading the Stephen stuff when it's Easter.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We were joking last month because it was Stephen, and then it's like, Stephen filled with the Holy Spirit and some other guys. I don't know, whatever. It was really hard to keep a straight face while being a lector that day.
Yes, because you were reading all about Stephen. Wah, wah. And a bunch of other guys. Okay, Abby, do you have a good story for us, or your favorite thing about Anthony? I think, were you the one who said he's my guy when you signed up or something on Truth Bomb?
I didn't pick him for my confirmation saint. I don't know if I even really knew him at that point, but he has been a longtime patron of mine, and I've asked him to be a patron of different parts of my life, patron one of the patrons of my vocation. I lose things all the time. He's become my personal patron saint of memory, because I figure if he can find lost things, he can rediscover lost memories of people. It's become a habit. When someone's like, oh, what was it?
Oh, we lost you for a second, Abby. Abby, we lost you for a second. You said when you're asking to remember a memory. And Abby's frozen. Everyone, there she is.
I hope you find some bandwidth.
We certainly need to find some internet.
we missed the part about memory.
Okay. Am I back though?
Yeah,
yes.
You're back.
Okay. Okay, cool. So I just, so when somebody, even in conversation, and someone's like, oh, what was that thing I was going to say? I'll just like pray to St. Anthony and be like, just whisper it to them, find it, tell them if they need it. And he always comes along, or, like maybe they just didn't need to say it. But so yeah, he's become my personal patron saint of memory, even in prayer, just like asking him to help with my memory. But one of my favorite stories of his ministry, or I would just say maybe one of my favorite parts of ministry, is that he was a miracle worker. A lot of miracles were attributed to him, and I didn't know about that until I had been like friends with him for several years. So I often actually invoke things. I invoke him because there's a miraculous story of his kind of healing the communication. That's a new word. Communication in marriage. So yeah, and stories. I have stories of like losing keys for multiple hours, getting really frustrated. Like, St. Anthony, what the heck? Like, I asked you nicely, and now I need to ask you not so nicely. I need you to find my keys. So I have a very loving brotherly relationship with him.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many times I have helped Abby find keys or key cards or a purse or a shirt or a scarf or did I leave my jacket? St. Anthony, come on. And it's like, St. Anthony, along with our human friends, we can help find all of the things that Abby loses.
It is very true. It is very true.
Well, it's good to have friends to help you find lost things. But I think I asked you before we started. So you guys, Andrea, you didn't know the story about why he is the patron saint of lost things. Abby, do you know the story? You know the story?
Yeah, I believe so. So it had to do with a book, right? Like somebody had borrowed a book and left with it or something. And I remember like he prayed about it and the book like miraculously like carried itself back to him. That's what I know. Is that correct?
It was one of the other novitiates, or however you would say it, in the monastery. And this guy went AWOL with his book, which we take books for granted, but this printing presses didn't exist. So to have this book with his notes in it taken, well, when the guy came back, not only did he end up with the book back, but the guy stayed and joined. He did not leave the Franciscans, he stayed. So, which is pretty amazing. So not only was the book found, it's kind of like this guy's soul was found too. So pretty cool little story.
He found his vocation.
Right, exactly. See, Abby, finding vocation. Whoa! It's amazing.
My part here is done. All right.
You're finished, Andrea. There you go.
I think we're done here. Good call. Good game, everyone.
Have a nice day. Thank you for joining us.
See you next time.
It's been great. It's been real.
So, Andrea, what story? I know you said you had a story of finding things. Are you a little bit like Miss Abby?
I don't lose things as often as Abby. I'm a little bit more responsible.
Hey.
And I say that with love. But yes, I was shopping with Kate, who thought it would be fun to hide from me. And Kate can be so quiet when she wants to be, usually when she's up to no good. So she was probably 3 at the time. She hid inside of like a circular clothes rack.
I did that too.
Yeah, I did too as a kid. And like my mom would tell the story and I'm like, I don't understand why this is a big deal until I experienced it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Mom, I'm so sorry I did that to you. I just went through it myself and now I get it. And so she was hiding and it was fine. She was like all good. I was doing my shopping. It was probably 5 minutes before I realized she was gone. So I was on a mission. And then I turn around and I'm like, where is she? I can't find her. I'm like, Kate, where are you? Nothing. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? St. Anthony, help me find my child. And so like I'm on the verge of tears and praying to St. Anthony. And then I say, Kate, I need to hear your voice right now or you will be in big trouble. Mom, I can't get out. Like, she was stuck. She couldn't figure out how to get back out of the clothes rack. So I'm like, Kate, I just need you to keep talking. I'm scared, Mom. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I'm like, it's okay, sweetheart. It's okay. And so like St. Anthony just led me back to her voice. And I was able to like make a parting way. She was trying to get out like where there was a pole. So she couldn't get out. And I think it was like long dresses in the rack too. So like she couldn't see her way through and she was 3 and scared and trying to hide and be funny. So yes, we did not get a treat that day as we left the store, but I found my daughter.
St. Anthony.
St. Anthony.
My mom would have been like, see? My mom would have been like, see, God punished you. See?
Stephen, your mom is about as cute as can be, but I can totally see her saying that.
I think I would like your mom.
Yeah.
Her name's Rebecca.
Oh, I know so many people with the name Rebecca. Most of them are nice.
Most of them.
Most of them.
Yeah, she's great.
Except for the ones that have the nickname Brinky. Those
yeah.
I'm not sure about.
Yeah.
Those ones.
Those ones really, yeah. And my mother hated someone named Becky, and she still named me Rebecca and called me Becky. That's a story for another day, but it is hilarious. She hated someone.
That's awesome.
Anyway, they still used it anyway. So a few things that I found out. I knew he was supposedly a good preacher and homilist, and that connects back to what Stephen was saying. But when they discovered it, I guess the Dominicans had visited the Franciscans, and there was this debate over who was going to preach. Oh, the Dominicans should preach. Oh, the Francis, but this is your place. You should preach. And so kind of as a joke, they figured, Anthony, why don't you preach? Thinking it's going to be short and sweet and to the point. And he ended up having this amazing homily, and it impressed them so much. And that actually reached the ears of Francis of Assisi. And if he had never done that, might not have ever been, stepped up. So I think of that in youth ministry too, that sometimes we challenge kids because how do we find their gifts if we don't ask them to do things? And sometimes it doesn't work out, but other times they're really empowered because it's a good and wonderful experience. Okay, we talked about the fish. Do love the fish story. Oh, I said before we started recording, I told them, his whole body is not incorrupt, but his tongue is, which is awesome. When we were at the Franciscan Friary of the Holy Land in Washington, D.C. for a mission trip 2 years ago, they blessed us on our cheeks with one of the relics of St. Anthony. So you go to Mass, and then they bring out the relic at the end of Mass, and they come out and they bless. So all of our kids were blessed by the priest with the relic, and the kids talked about how it was fire hot when it touched their face, and it was a really, really cool experience. And then they do the whole St. Anthony chaplet novena. They do a whole set of prayers, and so the kids, I just love when the kids get experiences like that they don't normally have. And it was neat to see so many people there for Mass, just because they have such a love for not just Jesus, but also for St. Anthony of Padua. So that was beautiful.
I wonder why they didn't bless with the relic on the tongue. I'm kidding.
Well, nowadays with COVID,
that's what
they
we
wouldn't
need,
do
right?
that.
We need our.
Because you're gonna find yourself in the hospital.
Yeah.
You're gonna find yourself with corona.
Like, I don't want St. Anthony on my cheek. I want him to influence the words that come out of my mouth. Even like vocal cords would make more sense to me than cheek. Just saying.
Just saying. And I asked
I think
Scott
they should
Morgan.
alter the blessing.
Yeah,
I think Blaze owns the throat, though. So
Fair.
they're very territorial.
I don't think
yeah.
St. Blaze would mind.
You don't think
he's
Blaze
a gentle
would
soul?
He'd share?
Yeah.
I don't know. His
share
name
the
is
throat?
Blaze. Yeah.
And I did ask Scott Morgan, I texted him yesterday, which phone was that? Because I think it was a pretty significant relic. And Scott goes, I don't remember. I looked on their website, of course. So it's not important. It's just that we got to experience that, which was very cool. And he also really wanted to, I find this fascinating about many, many saints, where they think they're supposed to be one place. There were a bunch of Franciscans who were murdered in Morocco, and they brought their bodies back. And after they arrived at his monastery, he was just really touched by their martyrdom. And he goes, well, I want to go to Morocco. I don't care if I'm martyred. And God had other plans. And so he got really sick. Sometimes our plans are not God's plans, and that doesn't mean that that's a bad thing. God just has something else planned for us. So I really love that piece about his life. But the last piece about the whole finding things that I did want to mention before we started was they call it St. Anthony bread when you give money, when you give alms to St. Anthony and Thanksgiving for something that he's found. Well, there are actually stories from the 1200s about kind of, I hate to use the word bribe, but women and men would say, if you can find my child, the one woman said, I will give the amount of corn equal to my son's weight if you find my child. Okay, so there's kind of this history of, I will give you, if I find my keys, I will give you whatever it was. So it's kind of been passed along, and it's really, really strong in my family, super, super strong. And so what's funny is we have a line item in our budget, that's the donation line item. And I don't lose a lot of things. But if my donation line item starts to get high, I lose something. And it is usually huge. A phone, a wallet, or my best friend or someone close to me will lose something really, really important. And it's so funny because I'll be like, okay, $25, St. Anthony. Okay, did you really need the 100? And then sometimes I'll say like 500, and it's more than what's in our line item, and it hurts to write that check, but the Holy Spirit works in amazing ways. And sometimes I think it's good when it's a little painful. And so I try not to let it get too low, but the priest, we kept always writing the checks to St. Anthony Shrine, which is here in Cincinnati. Go visit it if you've never been. It's beautiful. It's right on Coleraine Avenue. And they finally called me one day and they said, oh, Mrs. Albrink, stop sending us so much money. Could you actually send it to the friary, to the poor? Because the shrine, you know, they really wanted to go to the poor. They don't always need all the money just for the shrine. So we get to the Franciscans directly. And the priests who are in charge of the fund are priests who taught my husband and who know my father-in-law. So they always call and they ask how my husband's doing and how my father-in-law's doing. So it's a gift back to them when they see our name on the check. So it's very, very cool. But yeah, so St. Anthony bread. And I always thought my family was weird until I read that article. I'm like, oh no, it's actually history. We just got that too.
So I have never offered to give Anthony anything for all that he has done for me. So he and I probably need to have like a reconciliation of sorts. And I'm going to need to make a bigger budget for next year.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It does crack me up that, because my mom will sometimes say, did he hit you good? Yeah, he hit me good. And she'll go, okay, they really needed that money. Yeah, and I found I've lost a few things during pandemic time because the Franciscans need the money. So it's fine. They need it more.
He's also a doctor of the church, right?
Yes, he is.
I love doctors of the church. Like, man, if you're named a doctor of the church, you must have done something really, really good. So
really, really good.
Known
and
for his preaching.
Yeah, and he's usually pictured with the baby Jesus. He had visions of baby Jesus. And I always think that's cool because sometimes you have to explain to kids, like, why is that saint holding a baby all the time? And, you know, his love and his understanding of the incarnation of Christ was a beautiful thing. And St. Francis of Assisi had much the same deep understanding. So Jesus came to us as a little baby. And so it's cool to see Jesus that way too. Okay, are you ready?
Ready.
Okay.
Can't wait.
Andrea, you get the first question. What was he teased about as a child?
Talking to his stuffed animals like he talked to the fish. Because no one would listen to him or be his friend. So he just went and talked to his stuffed animals.
I actually think that's brilliant. Somewhere along the line, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Somewhere
Well, if
along
you're
the
not going to
line.
listen to me, I'm going to go preach to my stuffies.
I used to teach to my invisible friends, imaginary friends, and stuffed animals. So I don't know what
That
that
doesn't
says
surprise
about me.
me. You've got to
Great.
practice. You've got to practice.
Andrea, I feel like that was said like a true mom to my stuffies. Super cute.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
The stuffy thing for sure. Okay,
Yes.
Mr. Codicus, what's the first thing St. Anthony would have done if he had been given the power of invisibility?
Oh boy. Well, he probably would have gotten his book back, and that's why you see it floating. You know.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And I
If you
think
pray to him, like, and he help you find something, that's kind of like he's like invisibly helping you, right? So.
Yeah, invisibly helping you. I also think he enlists the help of our guardian angels. Honestly, I really do. I feel like there's a group of them who helps us out, and he's got his whole squad. And well, maybe I forget. Maybe the sidekick questions in here. We could talk about the sidekick, which I always think is fun too. Ooh.
Everyone forgets about the angel of keys, you know?
Angels of keys. What?
Yeah, to help you find your keys.
Oh, to help you find your keys. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
You're
There's
welcome.
not really an angel of keys.
No,
I mean, maybe, I don't know.
There's a
maybe.
patron
There you go.
saint. There's
I thought
a
a
patron
picture.
saint. Perfect. St. Anthony is a child.
Perfect. Actual picture.
With
Oh
your
my
head
gosh.
right there, you can't see the baby. It looks perfect.
Yeah,
That
sit
could be a
right
different
Just
baby.
there
turn
with your-
around and preach to the animals. It'll be perfect.
Tell at the seminary next time you have to do one of those little homilies when you're in homiletics class, you
Yeah.
could say, please, could we bring in the stuffed animals and see what they say.
Yeah. Bay Moose stuffies.
And if seminarians don't have them, I can provide one for every guy in the class.
I do
will
have one,
happily
actually.
do that.
I do have one I have the one you Becky gave me.
Oh yeah, he has a bear because I
It's in
call
my
him
bookcase.
Cinnamon Bear.
And she's Vanilla Bear.
And I'm Vanilla Bear. He's my little cinnamon bear. So, okay. Abby Kohler just snorted and she
She's
has
done.
herself muted. So Erica Rawlings, who I know is listening to this on the way to work, yet again, Abby Kohler is snorting. You just need to know.
Oh my gosh. Can we call you Cinnamon Bear?
I encourage it.
That is amazing. That is a great nickname.
I still remember the first time Abby was hanging out with my kids and we're laughing and she snorted and Claire goes, "What was that?" And then
Don't
for the
ask
next
questions.
month, every time they started laughing, they would try to snort. And it was usually like, I can't do this.
Doesn't work unless it's natural. I start to snort when I laugh, when I start to get really tired. So I laugh, I snort, then I cry, then I laugh a little bit more, then I snort. So it just kind of all goes downhill. So if I start to snort, beware because the tears are next.
It's a process. So I say that snorting is like my spiritual gift. Like some people get the gift of speaking in tongues. Some people get the gift of like discernment and interpretation of tongues, and mine is snorting, and it brings people joy, and that's what I get.
And that's what it's all about, right? Oh, Abby Kohler, you have had this question before. So it's a challenge because it's a new saint for this. If he were a genre of music, what genre would he be?
So like the very first thing that popped into my mind, and I'm not convinced of this, but like the very first thought without a cause that popped into my mind was hard rock. And I'm tempted to argue that because I feel like he'd be more like romantic ballads because he was so like gentle, but like professing of the love of God and like professing the truth, like romantic ballads do. Professing the truth. Okay, we could argue that, but anyway. So I feel like maybe he's a little more romantic ballads, but like he's hardcore, like that story of, oh my gosh, these martyrs, I'm moved by them, I want to go to Morocco. Like, so he's got like a hard rock side and a romantic ballad side. He's both.
And yeah, I really agree with that, Abby. And I think too, he's the romantic ballad with the surprising bridge, you know, the surprising bridge that just pops up and you go, where did that come from? So
could you sing us an example of that, Frankie?
No, not
okay,
today.
Maybe later. Okay,
because that would really set you snorting, and so we'll just leave it there. But I do, when you said hard rock, I actually went, where is she going with this? But that's why I love Abby Kohler's answer, because I always got to ask, where are you going with this? You always have a great explanation. So very impressive.
Thank you. And I don't always know where I'm going with it, so we just let it happen.
I mean, as soon as you said hard rock, I'm like, yeah, the heretics won't listen. Screw you. I'm going to preach to the fish. That totally seemed hard rock to me. I get it.
Now I picture him on like,
for you.
Yes. Now I picture him on like an album cover with like his fist in the air.
Baby Jesus,
I can see him like skipping rocks as he's preaching to the fish.
Ooh, music video right there.
Yeah. Baby Jesus has a little lighter. He's just going like this,
holding it back and forth.
Just don't get it too close to those stuffies.
No, those stuffies are there too. Woo, those stuffies. Okay, Andrea.
I feel like setting stuffies on fire would be very hard rock, but we'll just leave it at that.
I think that's more like death metal, but you do you.
Oh, Kodikas, I love when you're on because you always give the greatest side comments of all time.
We try.
Yes, you do. Okay, Andrea, I like to give this question to Stephen because he is the king of tattoos and he has some fabulous tattoos. He has a labyrinth tattoo. You can like trace the labyrinth on his arm.
Sarah's done it.
I think Stephen should have the question then.
Stephen should have the question. Then I'll wait.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'll wait. We'll give so start thinking about what tattoos St. Anthony would have. Okay, so then your question, Andrea, would be, what actor should play him in a film? So like it would have to be I was thinking about this earlier when I saw the question. So it's got to be someone young, right? Because he died in his 30s. I think he was really
35.
Young. Yeah, so he's got to be a young actor, but he's got to be
little punk rockish too.
Yeah, but has that quiet side. So I don't know. I know it's a hard one.
I'm gonna put a caveat: no Jim Caviezel, because that's like the stereotypical answer.
Yeah, no Jim Caviezel. That's too easy.
if Abby would have said like romantic ballads, it would have been really easy to be like Matthew McConaughey. Just the romance coming out, helping people find love in their lives, helping people
you help me find my book.
How to lose a guy in 10 days,
Oh,
all those things.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I think
all right.
I think Matthew McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey, or as like we like to say in my family, Matthew McConaughey. So.
Yeah, I can totally see Ben saying that.
Not my son. my daughter, my sister.
Maybe
you know.
Schneidel, but not.
I think Alex would totally say Matthew McConaughey. Please tell him I said that. He'll like me even more.
I sure will. He'll just go, "You have the weirdest." He just walks away. Okay. We try to get him and then he just walks away. He's so used to it these days. He just, okay, move on. Just move on. Okay. Matthew McConaughey, do like the answer. He's also got a little bit of the curls. And I think Anthony of Padua, when he was younger, wealthy, would have had the hair and yeah. So very good. Very, very awesome answer. Okay. Did you figure it out, Cody?
I have two possible answers.
Oh.
Or maybe they're all one answer. Who knows? I don't know. We're about to find out, though.
We
And
are.
I think one of those answers is, I thought of like a compass or something. Compasses help you find your way.
Oh.
Or
Compass.
he has a whole bunch of tattoos to help him where he put things, like a la Memento. So he just like covered
Like a treasure map on his back.
treasure map, but backwards so he could see it in a mirror.
Wow. Yes.
Or like a tattoo of every object he's ever found, like a badge, like a Boy Scout badge, but like a Hard Rock Boy Scout badge.
Then
Hard
he is
rock.
hardcore covered in heaven right now. I cannot wait to see him.
He is, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. I connected so much to the compass because that's just genius, What would really be cool, because he's a saint, the compass could actually turn and point you, because,
Oh, magic compass. That just,
yeah, points the way. I mean,
Yeah.
if miracles occurred, miracles could occur that way. God has God's ways, and I can't figure them always out. So who knows?
So true.
Ooh.
please God, give me a gift tattoo.
A gift tattoo. Oh, Stephen. When the next one's a compass, I'll know why. Okay. Abby, which Disney character is he most like? You've had this one before too, I think. Yeah. It's always easier with the girls. With the boys, it's always harder because you got to figure it out.
I'm trying to think who the most like selfless man character in a Disney movie is, but like the first ones that actually came to mind were
Hi.
Just another day where I get honked at while everyone drives by me.
Honk if you love Anthony.
You're right. I'm thinking of two things. One, the lovable something cartoon Beauty and the Beast. Gaston's sidekick. What's his name?
LeFew, I think is what it is.
Josh Gad. Yeah.
Josh Gad in the live action.
Yeah. But I'm thinking of the cartoon one, and I'm not sure why that makes me think of him. Maybe just because he, as like fiery of a preacher as he was, I think his demeanor was very like of service to the Lord, so that he would be that like lovable sidekick to anyone, but like for holiness. Like I really want your holiness, and like the sidekick to Jesus, like I'll go wherever you go. But I also thought of like the mice. Maybe that's a theme. I thought of the mice in Cinderella. But particularly when the fairy godmother changes them into, do the mice become horses?
Yeah, I think so.
But like the mice were like Cinderella's protectors and guardians, and like they were the only ones who like really saw her for who she was and cared about her for who she was and wanted the best for her. And then because of that like demeanor in them, they became the horses that were able to help take her to where she needed to go. There we go. St. Anthony is the lovable sidekick, and the mice / horses in Cinderella.
I believe one of the mice, his name is Octavius, is what she calls him, and Octavius. And then I think
Gus.
Gus. Yes, Gus. Yeah, I do love the little mice. And they do protect her. And you're right, they see her the way she actually should be seen. And I'm sure Anthony of Padua could see people the way they should be seen and also challenge that too, as in the example of the fish. You ain't going to listen to me. I'm going to go to the fish. Maybe y'all should pay more attention. So, okay, I'm very impressed with the mice because I would not have gone there. I was thinking male characters, but they are male characters. They just happen to be mice. So very, very
You've
awesome.
got like the whole Franciscan animal theme going strong.
I know, we really do. We really do. Stuffed animals, little mice, little fish, little everything. Okay, Andrea, this is probably
Cinnamon bear.
Little cinnamon bear, little vanilla bear.
Little vanilla bear. Scott could be like a strawberry bear. I don't know.
Oh, no.
Strawberry.
Strawberry.
Deacon bear.
Deacon bear.
There you go. He goes in his spare time, reads Gustav Flaubert. So.
Again, this is just too much. Okay,
I'll call him Deacon Strawberry.
Deacon Strawberry. Deacon Strawberry.
I have good authority. He really likes that name.
Is he standing right there?
No, so it's perfect.
Sometimes he's standing right there. Okay, I think we could do, it's 11:22. Do we have time to do one quick round?
Quick round.
Okay, quick round. So, Andrea, if he were a can of paint, what would the color be called?
Oh boy. Brown bear.
Yeah.
Brown.
Because we have to tie in bear again.
Because we have to tie in bear.
Franciscans wear brown.
That's what I was thinking.
Franciscan, brown, but it's got to be brown
Perfect.
Bear.
Brown bear. We're back to the animals.
Brown bear.
Like it. Okay.
I snorted real big on that one. That was a really great answer. Yes.
And I think you can find things with a brown background pretty easily.
Yes.
Find most things.
Yes. So I do. Oh, brown bear. Love it a whole lot. Brown bear of Padua. We could of Padua. You think about that.
Wait.
Candle.
Can Padre be bald bear?
There he is.
Yes. So my kids couldn't say Father Kyle, and I'm like, we're not even going to try his last name because that's just not going to happen. And so I was like showing them a picture of Father Kyle. I'm like, we're going to go see Father Kyle today. And Claire goes, Father Baldy. Father Baldy.
And
so
he's
for the
been
last
Father
like
Baldy.
4 years, he has been Father Baldy in my family.
Yes, Father Baldy. Yes, we love that. And my father-in-law, that he did not know this till recently, my father-in-law refers to him as Schnips. So my father-in-law has dementia and he doesn't remember many people or many things. But when the Daily Mass comes up on the TV, he yells, "Hey, it's Schnips!" And then he remembers Father Kyle. No one else but Father Kyle. So it's a beautiful thing. I know, it is. It's pretty awesome. Okay, between Father Baldy and Schnips, he's got a few thousand nicknames. Okay, thank you for welcoming us to the good place. And Kodikas, your question is, if he was a cooking utensil, what cooking utensil would it be?
Oh, cooking, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me put my cooking background on. Here we go. Let's see.
You are prepared.
I am.
So prepared.
I've done a couple of these. Zoom. A cooking utensil, huh?
Uh-huh.
I would probably say not so much utensil, but your kitchen drawer, because that's where you find a lot of utensils. Boom.
Boom. I'm actually very impressed. And where you find all the things that don't have a place, so you go looking there for things.
Or like one of those like jars you have in the background, like the utensil holders. He's the utensil holder.
Utensil holders.
Utensil holders. Brilliant. Brilliant answer.
Boom.
Brilliant answer. Awesome. And I'm always impressed, Codicus, always bringing the backgrounds in. Just so impressive.
We try. Do you want a David one?
Sure.
Okay. I have two.
Oh,
Here's
boy.
here's nice boy with his mom.
Oh, with Brenda. Look at David with Brenda. This
And
is
then
our music minister.
Here's sultry David.
Wow, you have all the backgrounds.
That's
Very
like
exciting.
band cover.
Yes.
Is it?
Speaking of St. Anthony's
Bro.
music genre.
Yeah, his hard rock. Yeah.
So David Morand could stand in and do his whole album cover thing. Okay, Abby Kohler, it's the last question of the day, and it is...
Okay, wait, Becky, can I forego my question to you? Because we don't get to hear you answer the question.
Oh, you don't get
So
to hear
can
me
I
answer
forego
the
my question to you?
Yes. Sometimes
I don't
answer
have to.
questions.
I can
Sometimes
answer it if
I
you want
answer
me to, but I...
questions- Yeah, or we can answer it together. Sometimes I answer questions when there's only two other people, and then I answer questions. But yes,
All right,
but this
I
question...
say Becky answers the question and Abby gives the explanation.
Boom. Done.
Okay.
Hashtag collab.
Okay, here's it. It attaches to a story that we did not talk about with St. Anthony. So, what does he secretly collect is the question. And my answer is going to be scissors and knives. And I'm curious if you would have a reason as to why scissors and knives.
Well, that's obvious to extrapolate. You kidding me? Come on.
So things just took a dark turn here, and I was not expecting that. Scissors and knives. I would love to hear the actual story, but for my definition, because I don't think I know that story, I would say he collects scissors and knives to cut the chains that people have to things of this world, the chains that like keep them down, the chains and ties that like the evil one has us in. And St. Anthony is just all about severing those so people are free to like ascend to the heavens and commune with the Lord and pursue the Lord.
That is
my answer,
awesome.
but I'd love to hear the real answer.
Because I can totally connect this to the story. So it says that at his last sermon, almost 30,000 people came to see him, okay? And he had discovered right before this, because he became so popular, people would wait all night to hear him. I mean, 30,000 people back in that time, I don't even know how many towns of people that would be. But he ended up having a bodyguard. And the reason he did was because people would attempt to get close to him and snip off pieces of his habit to keep as relics, okay? Knowing that someday if he died, they had an actual piece of his habit. So he would collect all the knives and the scissors his bodyguard would take away. But then think about it, then he can use them to cut the chains. He could use them for good. And God takes sometimes what is not used for good and uses it for good. So there we go. We connect.
That is super cool.
That is a much deeper route than I was thinking of.
He was like canonized within a year of his death. Like that's almost unheard of to go through canonization that fast. So it's not really surprising that people like knew he was going to be a saint and wanted to collect relics while he was alive.
Yeah.
Why didn't they cut his beard though?
Did they what?
Why would they take his clothes? That just touched him. Why not like his beard?
Well, because I think it would be like the woman who touches Jesus's cloak. I think they were just trying to get close enough to him to not, yeah, because really the hair would have been.
You got to be pretty close to get that, right?
Yeah, to get that without cutting him.
All bearded people know jujitsu when it comes to their beard. So it's like one of those like gifts of the beard. It just happens.
Someone's trying to steal it. Someone's trying. Someone's coming for it.
So there's like a beard tinkle, and I thought stars gonna be something like, you're a youth minister, and if you do arts and crafts, you keep losing scissors or something.
No.
No.
No. No. Stephen, it is always a joy to have your extra commentary on an episode of Truth Bombs with the Saints. And I appreciate all of you joining me today. I did not introduce them because they've all been on our episode so far. But Andrea Patch, before we go, Andrea Patch is the director of the Office of
I do catechesis with the Archdiocese.
She is changing her title every 2 weeks. So sometimes you finally got it right, though, on a webinar. It was very impressive.
I did. I'm the managing director of evangelization and catechesis.
There we go. For downtown Cincinnati, the Archdiocese of Cincinnati. And Mr. Stephen Kodikis is a seminarian in theology too now at Mount St. Mary's Seminary when we go back in the fall. Hopefully they will be going back with their face covers on. And Miss
Did you say Mount St. Mary's?
No, Mount St. Mary's.
That's where all the bears are.
It's where all the bears are.
Mount St. Mary's.
They live out in the woods at Mount St. Mary's. I'm never going to look at that building the same again. I'll be like, where's the bears?
No.
Where's the bears? And Miss Abby Kohler.
I'm going to run into you now in like church locations.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say, I'm going to run into you now, and I'm going to only remember to call you Cinnamon Bear. I won't remember your real name. I'll just remember Cinnamon Bear.
And late at night, when I hear this snort in the distance, I'll think of you.
You'll think of Abby Kohler. Yes. Abby Kohler.
Or every time someone honks, think of Abby. It happens more often than you would know.
Mm-hmm. Look at Abby. So Abby is our net outreach coordinator, and she actually works in the downtown offices too for the Eastern region, right? Isn't that the Eastern region? Isn't that what it is? Yes. See, I'm getting these titles right as the summer goes on.
I do local outreach.
Yes, it's wonderful what you do. So prayers for all of you in this time. Hope to see you at Mass. If you come to Mass, we prefer you wear a mask, though it is not required. And join us, high school students. We have online Bible study, and we'll be having live in real person events starting after July 1st. So check your emails for details. Until then, we love you. We're praying for you. See you soon. Bye now.
Bye, everyone.